Hello. So the purpose of today's video is to illustrate how easy it is to run the code that's supplied with the coursebook, Accounting Research and Introductory course. One thing we're going to assume in this video is that you've already gone and completed the steps listed in the introduction of the book under setting up your computer. So we're going to assume you've completed steps 1, 2, and 3 listed on the website and explained in a separate video that we'll link to here. And so the only step remaining to be completed is the fourth step, which basically tells R how to access Words data. So to complete that final step, we're going to open up RStudio. And once we've opened up RStudio, we're going to copy the code from the website under setting up to connect to the Words database. And we're going to edit that code so that it has, instead of, so it has your Words ID and your Words password. I'm going to skip the part where I type my password. I'm just going to type my ID. As explained in the book, there's a better way of setting up your password, and I've done that. But first time you'll need to type your password here as well. So once I've got all that correct, you can see that the first 3 elements of this information are basically common to everyone for accessing the Words database. Having completed those steps, we're now in a position where we can go to any chapter in the book and run the code in that chapter. The way the book is set up is that the code in each chapter can be run independently of the code in any other chapter once you've completed the prerequisites that we've just gone through just now. But we're going to focus on one chapter here, the chapter Natural Experiments Revisited, which we can go to by clicking the relevant link in the book. The first thing we need to do is load the packages that we need for the chapter. These are listed at the start of the chapter, and we will copy and paste that code. So the first thing we need to do for any chapter is load the libraries we're going to use for that chapter. We can grab those by copying the code from the chapter and pasting it into RStudio. And clicking enter. In this particular chapter, we're going to focus on section 21.6 and our code, and we can sort of see there that explains we don't need to run the code from the prior sections prior to going to 21.6. One thing we are going to do is we're going to use this Stargazer package for regression output. So we're going to copy the line here. The book on the website is written in HTML, but in using it interactively, we want to switch that to text, which we do here. Now we go ahead and jump ahead to section 21.6. This section focuses on replicating a paper, Fung et al. 2016, which we're going to call FHK, the author's initials. Now we're going to effectively be replicating table 15 of a 2019 replication study of the original 2016 paper. So we're going to grab the first snippet of code, copy to the clipboard, paste it into RStudio and run it. What have we done here? We've basically got data from Compustat, which is sort of the main data set used by FHK in their analysis. We've downloaded that data from Words, and we can see that it's available to us in R now. In their regression analysis, FHK are going to include a number of controls: market to book, leverage, and ROA. We want to use the following code to calculate those controls. We're going to copy and paste those into RStudio. There's a number of steps in that code that are sort of explored in more detail in the exercises. The next data set we want to get relates to pharma French industry groups, which FHK use in estimating discretionary accruals. For this purpose, we're going to use the function getFFInd, which is discussed in the chapter on importing data. and is made available in the FAR package supplied along with the book. The next thing we want to do is grab the code that allows us to calculate discretionary accruals using a modified Jones model of sorts, and this is going to involve calculating a bunch of variables, then running regressions by industry year, then basically calculating discretionary accruals and returning the results to the calling code. For now, we're not going to worry too much about those details. We're just going to copy and paste the code into R and run it. The next thing that FHK are going to do is they're going to use the performance matching idea from Cathari et al. As discussed in the book. And again, we have a function that does the performance matching. We're going to copy and paste that into R and run it. And then finally, we have a function that does a little bit of cleanup work. This is a function we discuss in one of the exercises. We're going to copy and paste that one and run it in RStudio. At this stage, you can see in the environment window in RStudio, we have a number of functions available for us to call. Now what we want to do is actually call the function to get performance match discretionary accruals. We're going to pass the CompuStat data to the function by copying and pasting this code. It's going to take a few seconds to run. Now that's run, we're going to grab another data set, which is the actual data for the treatment variable related to this reg.SHO pilot that was conducted by the SEC. For that purpose, we're just going to copy and paste the code in the next chunk. The final data step is to merge the data sets that we've created above, which we're going to do with this next code chunk. Which is mostly just merging data sets. One thing you will see that is there's code here winsorizing some of the variables using the winsorize function discussed in another chapter and provided by the FAR package that comes with the book. Now that we've sort of completed the data steps, we can move on to the regression analysis. To make it easier to tweak the regression analysis in answering the discussion questions and exercises, we're going to set up the regression analysis as essentially a series of functions. The first function is going to be a core function to just run the regression analysis with options for controls, fixed effects, and clustering. So we're going to copy and paste that into R. We're next going to make a copy and paste a function that makes it easy to produce nice regression analysis with regressions with and without controls and with and without fixed effects, and basically output it as a nicely formatted table. Again, copy and paste that code. And now the final step is to actually produce a regression table. We're going to pass the dataset to the function makeRegTable. We're going to copy and paste this code into R. We're going to hit enter. You're going to see some ugly warnings, and that's just a function of the fact that we have sort of oversaturated our model in terms of fixed effects, so that's really nothing to worry about. But we can see the coefficients of interest, so this pilot true during coefficients, and you can see that they're exactly like the numbers in the book itself. The coefficient is very similar to what you see in table 15 of the paper, slightly more significant due to differences in data between 2019 and today. The next thing we want to do is we want to copy and paste this function. It allows us to run the regressions by year and plot the coefficients. Once we've got that function, which we explore in the discussion questions in more detail, we can copy and we can sort of rearrange the data, pass it to that function. And we basically see the plot that you see in the book. And here you see the plot in the book. And essentially what we're doing is comparing the green line with the red line. And you can see that dark grey area is the during period, and the fact that the green line is below the red line is what is reflected in the negative coefficients in the regression analysis. So there you have it. We've basically, in under 10 minutes, replicated starting from the base data all the way through to regression analysis and even plotting coefficients the core result from a significant paper, FHK. And this just illustrates how easy it is to run the code that is supplied with the book. Thank you very much.